First of all, I will tell you about menstrual cycle, and then after fertilization and post-fertilization events. Menstrual cycle is a regular cyclical change occurring during the reproductive years of female on the duration of 28th or 29th days per month, alternatively by each ovary. The beginning of first menstrual cycle is called menarche, and the ending of menstrual cycle is called menopause. At the mid of menstrual cycle, ovulation takes place. What is ovulation? Ovulation is the process by which immatured egg, named as secondary oocyte, release from ovary into the fallopian tube. After ovulation, the remaining part of ruptured Graafian follicle becomes yellow colored triangle shaped body within ovary and acting as a temporary endocrine gland. This yellow colored triangular shaped body acting as temporary endocrine gland is called corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum forms after ovulation from the remaining ruptured parts of the matured Graafian follicle within ovary. This corpus luteum secretes estrogen and progesterone. The function of estrogen is to make bone strong. The function of estrogen is to make endometrium of the uterus more thicker, more glandular and more vascular. The function of progesterone is to stop the next menstrual cycle from taking place by stopping the growth of follicle. Progesterone also stops the contraction of uterus. Progesterone also forms cervical plug that blocks the opening of cervix so that any pathogen cannot able to enter the uterus from vagina in order to disturb the fertilized egg. So what happens after ovulation? The level of estrogen and progesterone becomes high due to the secretion of corpus luteum. On that time, if fertilization happens, then fertilized egg becomes zygote, and if fertilization doesn't happens, then corpus luteum starts shrinking and due to which the level of estrogen and progesterone starts decreasing, and when the level of estrogen and progesterone becomes very low, at that time uterine contraction becomes so much powerful that endometrium blood vessel, endometrial gland, and endometrium ruptures, and due to which blood along with ruptured endometrium detach from myometrium of the uterus and discharges from uterus through vagina out in the form of bleeding. This bleeding phase of menstrual cycle occurs at the end of menstrual cycle when fertilization doesn't take place. So this bleeding phase is known as menstruation. The bleeding phase of menstrual cycle occurring at the end of menstrual cycle when fertilization doesn't take place is known as menstruation. Now know about fertilization. Fertilization is the fusion of male and female gametes. When male and female gamete fuse, then what happens? Nucleus of male gamete enters inside the cytoplasm of female gamete, and then after male gamete nucleus and female gamete nucleus moves towards each other, and when they comes very close, then their nuclear envelope disappear, and then after that cell becomes fertilized, completing second meiotic division, and becomes diploid zygote having full set of paternal and maternal chromosome. So when fertilization is the process of fusion of male gamete with female gamete. When fertilization happens, then zygote formation takes place. Zygote is a fertilized egg, and when zygote formation take place, then after zygote undergoes cleavage division. What is cleavage? Cleavage is a rapid, rhythmic and repeated mitotic division. So when zygote formation happens then zygote undergoes cleavage division. When zygote undergoes cleavage division, then many new daughter cell formation take place, which are actually the dividing cells. And this newly formed dividing daughter cells got the name blastomere. At 16th celled stage after fertilization, the formed embryo is called morula. This morula resembles mulberry fruit. So morula is the embryo of 16-celled stage formed from fertilized egg when fertilized egg undergoes cleavage. When morula formation happens, then morula passes through the phase of compaction. And when morula passes through the phase of compaction, then two types of cells develops within morula, in which one type of cells named as peripheral cells present in the periphery of morula, and other type of cells named as inner cell mass present centrally to the morula. Peripheral cell becomes trophoblast, which later forms 4 extra embryonic membrane and a part of placenta, and inner cell mass later form embryo proper. After that, what happens? Trophoblast secretes a special type of fluid within morula, and when this a special type of fluid secreted by trophoblast within morula, then cavity develops within morula, and once cavity develops within morula, then morula no longer called as morula, then it is called as blastocyst, and the cavity forms within blastocyst due to the accumulation of fluid secreted by trophoblast is known as blastocele. After that, what happens? Blastocyst comes from fallopian tube and enters into the uterus, and then in the uterus, blastocyst itself embeds to the thickened wall of the uterus endometrium, and once blastocyst itself embeds to the thickened endometrium of the uterus, then this embedding is called implantation. Embedding of blastocyst to the thickened endometrium of the uterus is called implantation. Isn't it? It is called implantation. And once implantation happens, it means pregnancy has been established. After that, what happens? After that, by the action of progesterone, endometrium undergoes profound change, which is known as decidua. There are 3 types of decidua: decidua basalis, decidua capsularis, and decidua parietalsis. What happens? What is decidua basalis? Decidua basalis is the decidua which is present between myometrium and developing embryo. Decidua capsularis is that decidua which is present between embryo and lumen of uterus. Decidua peritalsi. The remaining part of decidua is known as decidua peritalsis. I mean to say, the part of endometrium to which developing embryo embed is known as decidua basalis. The part of endometrium which covers the embryo in the form of capsule is known as decidua capsularis. After that, what happens? Blastocyst undergoes gastrulation, during which three primary germinal layers, namely ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm, forms. And after that, embryo undergoes neurulation, during which neural plate forms within embryo, and after neurulation, embryo undergoes finally to organogenesis, during which first of all profunctional organ system develops, which later become functional organ system. Now come on extraembryonic membrane, which are formed by trophoblast cells. There are four extraembryonic membrane. Extraembryonic membrane is also known as fetal membrane. There are four extraembryonic membrane, namely amnion, chorion, allantois and yolk sac. Amnion provides fluid. Amnion provides fluid medium to the developing embryo, so that the developing embryo will be prevented from desiccation. desiccation. Desiccation means drying, मतलब डेवलपिंग एम्ब्रायो सूखे नहीं, इसलिए एमनियन क्या करता है, फ्लूइड मीडियम प्रोवाइड करता है एम्ब्रायो के अराउंड ताकि वो सूखे नहीं. एंड दिस फ्लूइड आल्सो एक्ट एज शॉक ऑब्जर्वर. अगर कोई प्रेग्नेंट माँ के पेट पर फोर्स एक्सर्ट करता है तो उस फोर्स का जो डैमेजिंग इम्पैक्ट है वो बच्चों तक ना पहुँचे, तो इसलिए फ्लूइड जो है वो फ्लूइड जिस फ्लूइड में बच्चा रहता है वो फ्लूइड उस फोर्स को अब्जॉर्ब करके बच्चों तक नहीं पहुँचने देता है. नाउ yolk sac. Human fertilized egg contains very small amount of yolk sac. And that is why in human placenta formation happens for the purpose of nourishing the developing embryo. In human, yolk sac remains in very small size within the fertilized egg, which later disappears. In human, placenta is formed by chorion and allantois. and that is why human placenta is known as chorioallantoic placenta. CHORIO, chorioallantoic, ALLANTOIC. Chorioallantoic. Human placenta is formed by chorion and allantois, and that's why it is known as chorioallantoic placenta. Human placenta invades the endometrial blood vessel and gets connected to the endometrial blood vessel, and that is why human placenta is also called hemochorial placenta. I mean to say, human placenta having chorionic villi, and with the help of its chorionic villi, it invades the endometrial blood vessel of the mother and literally baths into the blood of mother, and that is why it is known as hemochorial placenta. Function of placenta. Placenta act as temporary endocrine gland. Why placenta act as temporary endocrine gland? Because placenta secretes some hormones like HCG, HPL, HCT, somatotropin, corticotropin, relaxin, estrogen and progesterone during pregnancy. Placenta also act as ultrafilter, allowing soluble organic and inorganic nutrients, hormones, antibody against mumps, rubella, smallpox, scarlet fever to pass from mother blood to fetus blood through placenta. Placenta also act as disposal of nitrogenous waste and other waste of the fetus. Placenta also helps in the exchange of respiratory gases between mother and fetus. Between placenta and fetus, umbilical cord is present. Now, human female pregnancy is also known as gestation. Human pregnancy period duration is normally 9 months. When human pregnancy occurs or completes, then after childbirth take place. Childbirth in biology is known as parturition. Parturition is also defined as onset of labor. After the completion of pregnancy, meaning gestation period, onset of labor is known as parturition. That is, childbirth is known as parturition. when parturition happens, then first of all what happens that first of all uterine contraction becomes stronger and stronger, and due to which amnion ruptures, amniotic fluid discharge out, cervix expands, pubic symphysis of the female becomes soft, and slowly child, means fetus, starts coming out from uterus through vagina. Now your reproduction chapter, human sexual reproduction topic has been completed. In the next video I will tell you about unisexual reproduction. Thanks.